Test, test, test. Hello there. What's going on, YouTubers? It's the 27th of September, year 2025, at Australian Eastern Standard and local Asian East Asian time. So though I never made such I never made such a such I beg your pardon. I never promised to go live once per week. Still, since I have nothing else to do at the moment, hence I would like to launch another live stream. Just have more talks, more serious talks with a bit of a killing vibe about my plans for the future and my own reflections upon the past. Well, most notably speaking, the recent past. Yeah, welcome to the live stream, Lennon. Well, I almost mistook your alias as Lemon, but regardless, yeah. So yeah, well, again, I kind of failed an attempt to break the siege this morning, by falling back to sleep, by falling back, by by succumbing to the urge of wanting to oversleep after I succeeded, in another attempt resetting my severely compromised circadian rhythm. Yeah, and therefore, I until about 11 a.m. at low time, and I had, I just, spent some more time, like a in other words, I wasted, more time, bit of severe, apathy and inaction and blah blah blah, all those old shite, but on a different day. Yeah, as some of you guys might have already had an idea as to what I have been up to over the past several weeks, aka I'm planning my trip to Hong Kong to attend a numismatic event scheduled to take place in this mid-October, and I certainly want to meet up. I certainly want to catch up with some of you guys out there, face to face, but it appears to me that um, it appears so far to me quite unlikely that none of you guys, or I should say all of you, um, seem unable, either unable or unwilling to to meet up in Hong Kong. Yeah, that saddens me. Though I have to, sooner or later have to make the move myself, completely on my own. Um, and yeah, so you might ask, what's stopping me from making the move, from taking the final, from taking the series of actions necessary to make that happen. Number one, I have to, renew my Hong Kong. Number two, I have to, make sure that, or at least find some ways to make sure that um, I don't get as severely, um, I have to make sure that I don't get as severely compromised or debilitated by my mental condition on the way and while in Hong Kong. Still sounds a bit awkward here. Let me remove the app. Yeah, I beg your pardon, but yeah, so while I am in Hong Kong and while I am on the way to Hong Kong and on the way back, I'll have to at least find some ways to, you know, to ensure that my existing mental condition, my existing mental conditions will not adversely affect my endeavor there. But I don't really have I don't really aim to make some friends, some authentic friends there. I'll just engage in a bit of mingling and somewhat casual face-to-face interactions with those NPCs. Though I still hope to to get acquainted with some like-minded folks, to get acquainted with some more like-minded people there. Considering I have not had pretty much any meaningful conversations with virtually anyone over the past several months, almost a year, so to speak. And I'm afraid, it's making my mental capacity or cognition start to regress or weaken even more. And on the other hand, I would like to kind of prove, first of all, to myself and to people that know me, that I can still make some breakthroughs completely on my own, without my old man and without the moral support from my grandma. The moral support, namely encouragement and as well as positive affirmations I used to get. I used to receive quite a lot back then, you know. And so yeah, and furthermore, investing, well, or at least um, investing in some forms of alternative investments, such as antique coins. Um, I beg your pardon. Can at least um, y- you know safeguard, if not guarantee, and significant increase and return in wealth in the future. And I also kind of see it as a sort of retirement plan, since I don't I more or less I choose not to involve myself in the conventional 9 to 5 grind, and therefore I have pretty much made no, or at least no co colleagues on a face to face on a face to face um you know on a face to face and regular um basis, so to speak. I beg your pardon. And I don't know how much exactly I may stutter in case that happens. And so this live stream also kind of serves as a real time test to examine, to kind of self examine my of social anxiety, as well as apathy and um, blah blah blah. Yeah, but unfortunately, it's just so freaking challenging, freaking G by heart, freaking tough to to keep your insecurities and anxieties at bay when you need it, when you need to do so the most. And also quite unfortunately, it is a skill pretty much every man has to master throughout his entire lifetime. That says to remain stoic and chill under pressure under an immense and incredibly immense amount of pressure. Yeah, but the silver lining, I guess, is that I've learned how to to not participate or non-involvement in those crappy crap interactions or unnecessary interactions with unnecessary and trashy people, especially those NPCs that either pretend not to understand or don't understand you at, at all. Just that kind of brings out an important lesson I've learned from my past experiences and from Far From Weak. Never choose friends so casually. You have to hand handpick who to interact with, who to spend a lot of time with, instead of um, instead of um, instead of picking friends based on superficial um, attributes, say hobbies or copes, such as video games, playing video games, or fapping, or or you know partying, or hanging out to parties, to clubs, or certain so-called healthy copes, not necessarily um, guarantee that you will meet the right people or like-minded folks to to foster and forge long-term partnerships with, or long-term alliance, or allegiance with. Yeah, so as a result, I have pretty much I have pretty much given up on proactively seeking friends. Um, aka choose to remain a loner, a lone wolf most of the time. Still, nevertheless, I would, I've always loved to embrace, like-minded people who can relate, who to whom I can relate with, and exchange ideas and thoughts and plans of actions on certain goals, you know say either you know either um entrepreneurship wise, or business wise, or financial wise, or in terms of self improvement, you know that sort of thing. But just for your information, I don't really intend to to use my presence, my channel on YouTube to make friends, or at least I don't chiefly aim to to do so here on YouTube. Still, like I said, I welcome helping hands. I welcome those that would like to to meet up and connect with um, here on YouTube and then in real life on um, a face-to-face fashion in real life. After we run after we crossed paths here on YouTube or on other like um such rumble.com or um well BitChute blah blah. But yeah, as for BitChute, it seems that they have ceased their operations in Great Britain, so that kind of roots out um, any potential friends I can meet up with back in the UK, which is quite sad. I don't know. I don't know. Well, I'm still trying to wrap my head. I'm still trying to wrap my head around why they had to close their British audiences about several months ago this year. Somehow, they just well, they just pop out a message saying that due to some reasons, blah blah blah, they had to close. Their they had to cease their all operations in Great in Great in the UK. I beg your pardon, which is sad. It's just serves as another core detail um that you should practice detachment from anyone and anything every now and then. You cannot fully count on on those things, items, or people you used to rely upon so heavily. Since you do not have an infinite amount of time to access them or have them at your or have them at your arsenal or your in immediate toolbox. for immediate use. You never know which one hit hit you first, the future or the future catastrophes or other sorts of shite that can hit the fan at any time. You'd never know. Yeah. And yeah, which I suppose that have has prevented lots of men from taking real actions to make a physical change to their lives. Unfortunately, I myself also from time to time fall victim to fear, to uncertainties, to overthinking, to analysis paralysis, to analysis paralysis over and over. Yeah, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another live stream, Nick. Yeah, I don't know if it was you who chipped in on my buy me a coffee page about a month ago. Was that you? I don't know, but yeah, it kind of looks like you. Oh, really? Thank you so much. Yeah, I should have given you a shout out. I beg pardon, for my for my clumsiness, for my um for 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 failing to making certain um that it was you. But I just don't like to be so bold. you know but yeah, but nevertheless, thank you so much for your for your for your kind patronage to my buy me a coffee page and to my endeavor here on YouTube. Yeah. Yeah. So what else? Yeah, I just yes, in terms of um yes, in the meantime, in terms of my physical health, yes, I have. Yeah, thank you so much for for your kindness and massive um help. Yeah, but yeah, regardless, yes, in speaking of my physical health, I suppose I am relatively, or at least relatively speaking, physically fit to to run, to jump. Yes, no no problem with doing those, and maybe a bit of more moderate high hiking and mountain climbing. So I suppose my physical health is not an issue whatsoever, except some minor ailments such as hemorrhoids and sometimes a sore throat and my myopia. but I've got, you know, 2 pairs of glasses. Though I need, you know, I suppose I need to, I suppose sooner I will need to buy another pair. You know, maybe in Hong Kong. I don't know. What is going on, King? Welcome back to the channel. Yeah, at least well, at least I am in an adequate adequate condition to make another video live at real time. You know, but still, you know, my mood, my mental my mental health status just keeps fluctuating. It just keeps oscillating. Um, in between, right here and there, east and west, like a roller coaster, I might add. You know, say, you know, my previous my previous my previous of you know, the debilitation almost longer, as some of you guys can see. You know, my previous live stream occurred about 8 days ago. That says, you know, that was, you know, the previous time when I found myself adequately fun, um, functional to to sit in front of my webcam um, and present myself by revealing my face and and outward appearance to you guys. That was the previous time in which, you know, when I, you know, when I found myself adequately functional or adequately presentable. And, you know, in between, you know, that 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 occasion, and I beg your pardon, and this live stream, you can you may consider that um, period, that length of time, you know, my um, a, a, episode of dysfunctionality. You know, yeah, I beg your pardon, but yeah, so furthermore, yeah, while in Hong Kong, well, assuming I do make it there, I plan to to make some purchases of certain items as a gift to my adopted old man slash one of my uncles. Likely some cigarettes and some sweets, namely some candies, some nuts, since he is quite fond of those those um those items. Apparently he smokes a lot. Though yes, though I advise him, to smoke less. Though not necessarily to quit smoking completely, since it serves as you know one of his most in this indispensable indispensable copes. And I believe many of you guys also have to rely on smoke to keep yourselves sane, to keep yourselves rational. Yeah. As for my copes, my most, my newly developed copes is playing chess. Though yes, I started playing chess quite some time ago. Namely last year, and even earlier back then when I was still a student back in Sydney, Australia. I even had a book, pretty much a how-to manual pertaining how to skillfully play chess. Though unfortunately I lost it. Lost it during my relocation. You know, so yeah, I didn't bring that book along with me, sadly. You know, otherwise, otherwise, I will have I may suffer less from from having to stay glued to screens. Nevertheless, I suppose for this week, I've managed to restrict my screen time on YouTube to within 65 to 70 hours, I suppose. Whereas last month I've spent nearly 90 hours on wandering aimlessly on YouTube for nearly 90 hours. Yeah, so that is the another rather monotonous, another rather um well, another monotonous fact about my shitty life, about my shitty everyday life. Yeah. Let's see if I can, wake up and get dressed at least you know, at around 9 or 10 o'clock a.m. in the morning at local time on this coming Monday. Well, suppose so assuming they still assuming they still remain open on, let me check the calendar, on on the on the 29th of September, year 2025, which is this coming Monday. I need to renew my Hong Kong ID. I need to renew it to actually, pay a visit there. Um, well, unless I transit in Hong Kong to a third country or region. In that case, I won't actually have to renew my Hong Kong ID. But otherwise, yes, I will have to. I can't spare myself the trouble having to renew it, and unfortunately, it has to be done face to face. It I can't do so remotely or online. But maybe they have they maybe a sort of automatic kiosk I can use you know to undergo the paperwork, the procedure, without having to speak to their staff, or at least a human staff, a human staff. In that case, that seems like a relief, a minor relief. Yeah, but still, it is still quite a pain in the ass for me. The way I see it, hate. I hate interacting with people whom I don't relate to, who do not vibrate at similar, if not identical frequencies. Um, yeah, I just don't know how much more I can, okay, or I can stretch my potential in terms of overcoming fear, um, and making such a breakthrough. Though I did make a similar breakthrough back then in year 2019, not so long after my old man's death. I managed to travel to travel in Japan on my own, and that was my most recent attempt to make a breakthrough, and which resulted in a success, I'd say. But that occurred 6 years 6 years ago. I'm not sure if I still if I still I'm not sure if I am still up for the challenge. Yeah. But other than that, I don't really have much else to say. So in case you guys have any questions, yeah, probably, yeah. I forgot to mention why I call myself a male princess. So you see my hands. My hands don't look masculine, or what do you think? Yeah, and on the other hand, I've got quite spoiled by I suppose, my old man and by my grandma, and therefore, I kind of, suffer from a some sort of inferiority complex when it comes to living up to the standards, living up to standards, or qualities of masculinity. That's pretty much why I refer to myself, or or why I named, why I title this live stream as as to be a man, as a male princess. That kind of invoke or provoke a bit of humor and sarcasm among you guys out there. Yeah, that is pretty much all. Why I call myself a male princess. In this video, and on the about tab on my channel. Yeah, or I should say the the way I use my channel, the present myself, in a couple of sentences here on YouTube. But other than that, yeah, I'm afraid I have not much else to say during this live stream, and yeah. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you again to my kind and I beg your pardon. To my kind patrons for chipping in, for your helping hands thus far. Yeah. So yeah. Until next time, if God's still willing, stay out of trouble and stay far from weak. Bye. Cheers.